Hey there, it's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
What a pleasure to talk to this Canadian, Lynda MacGibbon. She's got a book out, My Vertical Neighborhood, Why We Might Intentionally Love Our Neighbor. It's a great book. Lynda, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Nice to be with you.
Thanks for joining us from sunny, or maybe not sunny, Toronto. I don't know. Is it sunny?
Little cloudy today. It's sort of spring here.
Okay, sort of spring. As springy as Toronto can be.
As springy as it could get. It's just a little above freezing.
Yeah. Oh, so it's warmed up.
I'm not wearing socks anymore, so that's kind of our indication.
Well, hey, welcome. I love this. I haven't read the entire book, but I love the book, and I love the story behind it. My Vertical Neighbor. You moved from the Maritimes to Toronto in a high-rise apartment building, and you decided to, instead of reaching folks and making them an addendum to your life, just kind of bringing them more in, which I thought was really cool. Tell us a little bit about that story and why you decided to write it down for us.
Yeah, thank you. When I was moving to Toronto, I kind of decided, which was about 10 years ago, I had been prior to that thinking about the question of how do we love our neighbors? Why did God say love our neighbors? I had heard Michael Frost, the Australian missiologist who wrote the book Incarnate and other books. I'd heard him speak actually about 20 years ago. And he talked about moving into a neighborhood with a group of fellow Christians with the intentionality of being present to people, loving them, really being friends. And at the time, I was already living in my neighborhood. I was really, really involved in my church. I had all kinds of things already in my life. So trying to do what he did I could never seem to figure out how to do it. And when I moved to Toronto, I thought, I kind of have a clean slate. Maybe I should try this. And the question had always been bothering me. Like, why did God say love your neighbor? What does he mean by love? Mm-hmm. And how do we make room in our lives for that? So I moved to Toronto. And as you said, I decided when I moved into this high rise, I'm going to try to make friends here as the central part of my life. I work for a Christian organization. I work for InterVarsity. I, generally would find a church and make all my friendships there first. But I decided, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave room. Because that felt like the first thing I needed to do was leave space in my life for new people to enter in and then figure out what would happen. The book, I didn't set out with an intention to write a book. I started telling people stories about what was happening in my life. And people started saying to me, did you ever think about writing a book about this? So 7 years ago, I started the effort of trying to write the book.
So now, Lynda, when you moved into the apartment building and started this, because I'm sure Toronto, coming from where you were, Toronto is a huge city and many more people than you're used to being around. How did the people receive that? Was it different for them, or were they just open arms saying, yeah, come on?
It was a slow process. The first year I lived there in the building, I tried things like I joined a gardening committee. I would go to the condo Christmas party, but everything was very superficial, very polite, very arm's length. And I couldn't really figure out, as a single person living alone, how do I go further with this? Fortunately, a colleague moved into my building. She's Rachel in the book, and she moved into an apartment on the same floor as me. And she also had a desire and a heart to meet people. So between the two of us, we started inviting people. We threw a potluck party at Christmas time, and then we decided to do some things together, like an open door Monday night dinner, when there were two of us issuing the invitation to people. And we just started inviting anybody we met. So, if I had a conversation with somebody in the elevator and it went further, or in the hallway, or she would talk to somebody, hey, we're going to have dinner together on Monday nights. It's an open door invitation. First of the week, everybody needs somewhere to have dinner on Monday night. You're back to the office or back to work. And people started to come to that invitation little by little.
Awesome.
Lynda MacGibbon, My Vertical Neighborhood. It kind of sounds like when Jesus sent the disciples, he said, hey, go 2 by 2. But you have lived and are living the 21st century version.
Mm-hmm.
That is very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us a few stories. Now, I know that I haven't read this book. A lot of times when we hear or read books like this, it is presented as it's almost like a musical. Everything is great, and people come in, and there are no challenges, no personality.
You didn't dance the whole time.
Hey, everybody's getting saved.
Hands.
And reality is that's not the truth. Kind of talk about the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. I actually think it's really an important one, and one that I try to be true and honest about in the book. One of the only rule my friend Rachel and I had actually was that everybody was welcome, and that we were going to talk about everything and anything when people came to dinner. And we did talk about everything and anything. People talked about their trials, their sex lives, you name it, it came up. And that sent some people away. Like some people were uncomfortable with that level of honesty, but it also kept people coming. It made things more interesting and more real. So we had that sort of as our posture. And that did mean things got messy, especially as I began to get to know people more deeply and the superficiality fell away. So, and because I decided I'm just going to be open to whoever God brings across my path. God brought people across my path who were very different than me. One of the characters in the book is my friend Brian, a single man when I met him, lives a wild, crazy life. Has some values that are similar to mine. So he has a value for hospitality. Absolutely did not believe Jesus even could exist, let alone, be the Son of God. But there were times when some things happened between Brian and I where I actually, I won't give away one of the key stories of the book, but when I actually did something to him that was quite hurtful, and I needed to ask his forgiveness in order for us to continue on in our friendship. And he did forgive me.
Wow.
And that story's in the book. But there were lots of times like that where people said the wrong thing and sometimes asked for forgiveness, sometimes didn't. So I think the power of forgiveness became a touch point for all of us that were continuing on in this little community that started to grow up. That'd be one example. When people ask me what was the fruit of doing this, I think I've come to the conclusion the fruit was love. We learned to love each other. People learned to sort of have a sense of what love is like, but it wasn't necessarily that we saw everybody deciding to follow Jesus. I don't think that's the point of loving our neighbors. It might turn out that way, but it's a distinct commandment about seeing people and being present to them.
That's so good.
We're talking to Lynda MacGibbon, the author of My Vertical Neighborhood. Now, Lynda, what would you say to somebody who might be in the same situation and who may want to try it, but they're like, I don't know, I'm introverted or I'm a Christian and they're going to look at me weird. What would you say to them?
I would say, first thing, which we talked about just a few minutes earlier, 2 are better than 1. Jesus sent out his disciples in 2s, and I think one of the reasons he did that is because we are introverts, we are extroverts. So my missional friend, Rachel, is an introvert, I'm an extrovert. We knew when we did these Monday night dinners that she could be behind the counter in the kitchen and have a one-on-one conversation with one person, and I could be in the middle of the room kind of watching everybody, making sure, because I like that. But when we had to do dinners alone, it was really hard and really exhausting. So I think find people who share this value and do it together is one. I think don't be afraid of the hard conversations. I think what I discovered as I began to become more unfiltered in expressing what I believed in, but not pushing it on people, just saying, well, this is actually how I live my life. This is what I believe in. I understand you don't accept it or you don't follow it, but tell me what you believe in. And then having a conversation around that. People were more accepting of me than I expected them to be. Right. Even as I was more accepting of them.
And they see that you're a normal person. You're not some weird, what's portrayed on TV as a Christian, Right,
exactly. Like, can we be seen as real people with flaws?
Yeah.
We don't have all the answers.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, the beauty too is that no matter what they believed or how they reacted, you love them anyway. And whether they got saved or not, I mean, of course, we want them to, but you love them, period.
Right.
You know, that speaks volumes. What a great book. Lynda MacGibbon, My Vertical Neighborhood. I've got to read this book now, Lynda. I've got to read the entire book.
It's
you
a
don't
short
even have
read.
vertical neighbors.
You know what? The principles apply in horizontal neighborhoods as well.
Yeah.
But it's not a long book. You could probably read it in 3 or 4 hours.
Awesome.
And I think we should move to Toronto and see how it works for us.
After it warms up. I'm not a big cold person, so.
You are more than welcome. We'll throw a dinner party for you.
Oh, awesome. We'll be there.
Lynda, you're such a delight. We'd love to talk to you again. And we'd love to wrangle your co-mate there, the one that helped you through the whole process. I think that's man, this is just such a cool God thing. Again, you can check it out. What is that? ivpress.com, My Vertical Neighborhood. How else can they follow you, Lynda? Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, Facebook. I have a blog, LyndaMacGibbon.com. People can find me there. Twitter, Lynda MacGibbon, Instagram. I'm in all those places.
You're on all the socials.
That's right. I'm an extrovert.
All right.
Hey, when it warms up in Toronto, we'll get you back on the show. Thank you so much.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, you guys. Have a great day.
We appreciate you. You too. Lynda MacGibbon, check it out, My Vertical Neighborhood. We got to take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.